Hey everybody, welcome to another video. And in today's video, I just wanted to do kind of a video about Josh Donaldson and what I think will happen with him this year with the Blue Jays. So when Josh Donaldson's healthy, he's arguably in the running for American League MVP pretty much every year. Even last year where he missed about a month and a half due to injuries, he still put up over 30 home runs and he still had over 70 plus RBIs. Now, imagine if he played a full season, he would probably be at those MVP type numbers, arguably probably around 40 home runs and 100 plus RBIs. So if Donaldson can stay healthy this season for the whole year, easily I think he's in the running again for American League MVP. And the Blue Jays are going to very well need him to be healthy for them to go on a playoff run or to probably even make the playoffs this year. But if the Blue Jays get off to a disastrous start this year like they did last year, or if they're pretty much a 500 ball club all year round, I think Donaldson is as good as gone. I do think he'll get traded this year because I don't see Blue Jays management letting him walk for absolutely nothing. Now the only way I think they actually do let him walk and they do take a chance and let him and lose him for nothing is if the Blue Jays are actually in a playoff position or they're like really close to one at near the trade deadline. That's the only way I can see them maybe risking it. But for me, my gut feeling is he's going to get traded. And I don't think he's going to get signed long term because when they offered him the 1 year contract extension, it went through like very quickly. They didn't even have to go to arbitration to work out like any deal or money amount. But it seems like Donaldson wants to finish his career with the Blue Jays. It seems like he's seeking like a 7-8 year deal, which would bring him to the age of 39 or 39, 40. And ideally that would finish his career with the Toronto Blue Jays. But it seems like they got the money right, so about the 23 to 25 million a year. But I think the Blue Jays only want to offer him a maximum of a 4-year deal. And so they're exactly nowhere close in terms of the term of the contract. Because Blue Jays management knows after age 36, players, their production overall just kind of just drops. Like we saw with Jose Bautista last year, when he turned 37, his offensive numbers really dropped. His defensive play was god awful. And he was injured. He was banged up. He was always in and out of the lineup. Yeah, he put up over 20 home runs last year. That's great. But like at times he struggled to even bat 200 last year. It was a disaster. Like all of his offensive and defensive categories were just really bad last year for Bautista. And I get the feeling that Donaldson's a little injury prone. I think that for the past 2 or 3 years, he's always dealt with some sort of injury where he's been out for at least like 2 weeks of the season. And that really hurts the Blue Jays' chances. It's just because he plays so hard. He puts his body on the line every game. He's not afraid to dive out there and really risk injuring his body. He doesn't care. He just wants to really win. So that's what I think that kind of play style makes him a little bit of injury prone. And I do think he's probably going to suffer another injury this year. It would not surprise me one bit. Ideally, I think he's going to miss probably another 2 weeks this year with some sort of injury. I mean, I don't wish Josh Donaldson gets injured at all. I wish he's healthy all year round because we're definitely going to need him for the playoffs. But I do think because he's injury prone and that the Blue Jays are off to like a 500 start or even worse, I think he's as good as gone. And another reason I think he gets traded is because of the development of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now he's going to start the year in Double-A. He's our best prospect. He looks like he's going to be a future DH for our club. He currently plays third base in the minors. I haven't seen how good his throwing arm is or reaction time. I haven't seen that yet in like a live game on TV. So I can't really judge that. But I think primarily he's going to be a DH when he gets called up to the big club. but he looks like he could be ready in like probably by next year at the earliest. It wouldn't surprise me if Vlad Jr. even gets called up this year before the trade deadline, in maybe sometime in like June. I would not be surprised at all if he tears it up in Double A. He could just go from Double A straight to the majors, and if I think that happens, I think Donaldson good as gone. There's your replacement right there. Vladdy Jr. is going to replace Donaldson at third base, and you're going to have a great offensive young player that you can build your franchise around. He's essentially going to be our next franchise player to replace Donaldson. So that's why I think Donaldson probably gets traded this year. It would suck, but right now it just really doesn't surprise me. They're nowhere close on contract talks. He's one of the best players in the game when he stays healthy, Donaldson is, arguably. So they would get a lot of value back. And if they did trade him, I think they're going to trade him for some starting pitching prospects that are really good, that will probably be ready for the 2019-2020 season at the latest. Because that's where we kind of lack right now. Our starting pitching depth is not that great. We don't really have any young pitchers really coming up that are going to be like the next ace of our pitching staff. I mean, Sean Reed Foley's a pretty decent pitcher, but he's nothing like tremendously like, oh my god, this guy's going to be the next top 10 pitcher in the league when he gets called up. No. He'll be a decent one, but he's nothing that's like super great. So I think that's what the Blue Jays will ideally trade Donaldson for. Probably like a top pitching prospect or two, and maybe another young roster player that can play on the team like right now. And even if they do trade him and they don't call Vladdy Jr. up to replace him on the big league roster, we still have Solarte. He primarily played a lot of third base when he was in San Diego, and he actually put up pretty decent numbers. So they could roll with Solarte at third to kind of buy time and give Vladdy Jr. more time, so that when he does come up, he just slots right into the lineup pretty easily. So, Blue Jay fans, what do you think is going to happen with Donaldson this year? Do you think he'll actually sign a contract extension? It doesn't seem likely to me. Do you think he's going to get traded? I think, without a doubt, I think he gets traded. I think the only way he doesn't get traded is unless the Blue Jays are one of the best teams in the American League. That's the only way I don't see him getting traded. But the Blue Jays have to play a lot of baseball before the July trade deadline. So who knows? It's like ideally half your season is played before the trade deadline even comes, right? So that's a lot of baseball. And usually by the All-Star break, you kind of understand what your team is. If you're a 500 team, ideally you're probably going to be a 500 team the rest of the second half of the season. If you're well below 500, you're probably well below 500 for the rest of the season. So it'll be key this year. So again, yeah. So what do you think he gets traded for? If he does get traded, my verdict is he does get traded. I think he'll get traded for some top pitching prospects and maybe another young, kind of already proven roster player that will easily just replace him. But this was a video that I just kind of thought about off the top of my head. I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.